It's Juan. We got a big year coming up. I'm about to be a free agent in 2025. Is there any way that I'm going to be your top priority? Well, listen, here's the problem, Juan. You are definitely going to be our top priority along with Shohei Ohtani, along with anyone else we can possibly sign, because we want our payroll to be $1 billion. However, what if there's a salary cap? Then you may be in trouble, and we may be in trouble. We can't let there be a salary cap, which leads us to a salary cap. During spring training, Tony Clark of the union goes around to every single spring training camp and meets with the players. Michael Hill and various other people in the commissioner's office go around to every spring training camp and meet with all the players. A lot of player meetings in spring training. Don't forget lotion. We don't want you to get sunburned. And please make sure you show up even if you're sick in the morning, and we'll send you home if you got COVID or something else. But make sure you come every day. Except for you, Bryce Harper. You don't have to come at all. But everybody else, come every day. Tony Clark has these meetings. They're very private. Very private. I was never able to sit on any of them, of course, but even like clubhouse staff can't sit in. When Tony Clark comes, you're in. Tony Clark meets the media, and boy, did he have a few things to say. Why? Because for the first time in years, not decades, not centuries, it's only been years, because I hate to call back to the last collective bargaining agreement, which was a complete disaster, nightmare scenario due to all the things that were going on with the lockout and COVID, everything else. But we have labor peace in baseball. The whole point of a 5-year collective bargaining agreement is to live in peace and not talk about baseball economics, because fans and sponsors don't give a flying rat's pituitary gland unless it's costing them games and pleasure and ability to gamble and play fantasy. 5 years of peace will start negotiating. It's sort of like running for re-election when you get elected president in your first 100 days. Why would you do that? No one does that. Take your first 100 days and try to get some stuff done. The midterms are coming soon enough. Then you're going to have to worry about re-election soon enough. So it's all going to happen in time, but not today. But baseball is totally screwed because they're already starting collective bargaining negotiations in the media, which is the worst place to do it. You had baseball doing the Economic Reform Committee, which we talked about, and which, of course, the media was going to ask Tony Clark about. And Tony Clark, when asked, had the perfect quote. Let me be clear. We're never going to agree to a cap. Let me start there. We don't have a cap. We're not going to agree to a cap. Forgetting the fact that you should never say never, which you never should say. They're talking about a salary cap. Why is Rob Manfred thinking about a salary cap in baseball? I'm looking at you, Stevie, and I'm looking at you, Petey. What the cones? You can wipe it if you want. We're live Monday morning. You don't need to wipe it. 4, 6, 9. We're talking about the Mets, Steve Cohn, the Padres, Peter Seidler, spending in insane amounts with reckless indifference toward the ramifications on the game, getting great press. As a matter of fact, Tony Clark, in front of the media, complimented Peter Seidler. Here's a little hint, Pete, in case you didn't know, and you're not even new to the game. You sort of are new to being a controlling owner. When Tony Clark or anyone in the Players Union says that you're the best owner in baseball, news alert, you're not. It means you're getting taken advantage of by the union. Now, all of you cynics out there are going to say, what's wrong with being a boss who's the most popular boss with his employees? I don't mind being respected by employees. I don't mind being liked by some employees, not liked by others. But when it comes to money and negotiation and collective bargaining agreement, make no mistake, friend or foe, we're in a negotiation. And if you are putting a fish hook in my mouth like I'm Steve-O and feeding me to the sharks like I'm Chum, I don't want to be in that position because it means I'm bad at my job. So Tony Clark is out there saying how great Pete is. The commissioner's office is saying the opposite. The San Diego Padres, with the signing of Machado, with the rumor that doesn't come from nowhere. This doesn't take them out of the Ohtani market, and it doesn't stop them from signing Soto. You think the media made that up? If you're the San Diego Padres and you have just signed Machado, you want to make sure that there's love in your clubhouse. So you got to make sure it's very clear that you are going to focus on Juan Soto at the appropriate time to bring him back. You don't want him saying, no, I'm a lame duck here. So you're going to leak that out. And then you definitely want to be, if you're going to be in the conversation for Aaron Judge and you're going to want to sign Trey Turner and you're going to offer them tons of money and watch them go elsewhere and pivot to Xander Bogaerts and then have the opt-out totally work against you if you're dealing with Manny Machado, of course you want to be in the Shohei Ohtani market. Therefore, you're also going to leak out there, oh, they're still serious about Shohei Ohtani. Meanwhile, Major League Baseball looks at the Padres and says, what's going on? We're forming an entire committee and we're talking about doing a salary cap because I've got 20 owners who are wondering what you're doing, Pete, because you're losing money. Go ahead, Jeff Passan, bring it on. The San Diego Padres are losing a fortune this year operationally. Now, you can write the checks all you want, but they're losing money. And the rule in baseball, something called the debt service rule, says that the amount of debt you can have on your team is a formula based on the amount of EBITDA you have. Earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, before your eyes glaze. If that number is not positive, you're going to have a hard time making money. And if that number is negative and you're only allowed debt as a multiple of a negative number, that means zero. And believe me, the Padres have debt, which means Major League Baseball can tell the Padres you're in violation of the debt service rule. They can say to the Padres, you have got to fund your losses, not by taking on debt, but by writing a check. Come on, Pete. Bring in the checkbook. Come into the office and meet us. Bring it. We don't take credit cards. No, we don't. Well, wait, do you want to pay the 3% fee? Yes, we have a cash price and we have a credit price, but we're not covering the fee. You're losing $49 million, making up the number, but believe me, it ain't 20. And yes, they're sold out. Yes, tons of fan fest people. Yes, a waiting list for season tickets. And yes, a loss. So the commissioner has a unique opportunity to try to put the brakes on Peter Seidler. Because at some point, even rich people don't like writing checks, even Steve Cohen. So it's going to be very interesting what happens now. And the reason I'm slightly despondent is that there has been no first 100 days, quote unquote. The reason Tony Clark is talking about the fact we're never going to have a salary cap is he knows the Economic Reform Committee is about trying to get in a salary cap with a lower salary floor than what the players' union would want. The reason why a salary cap can actually work is, as I've told you, in the players' union, there's an executive council of players, call it 8. There's 30 player reps. Those are the ones who have a vote. The player reps for a team take a poll of all of the players on the team when deciding whether to vote for a collective bargaining agreement. Wait for it. The player reps who are taking the vote of all the players on the team, that's 26 guys. Spoiler alert. The number of people impacted by a salary cap are the Machados of the world, the Turners of the world. Do you know how many middle class and lower class players there are? And I don't mean economically, I mean in terms of baseball economics, who would be very happy to have a cap if they could guarantee that all teams are going to compete with a certain level of salary, and putting a cap on the number of years and on the total amount of money that goes to the best players. You're talking about the elite.